Okay, so now it's Thursday evening, and after making the pizza doughs yesterday afternoon, I finished them at about lunchtime, then I left them out to prove like the recipe said, and then overnight I put them in the fridge, and then today at about lunchtime I took them out so they could come up to room temperature, ready to make the pizzas. So they should get quite big. Depending on what container you have them out, they might spread out, or if the container is quite small, they might go up. But that is fine. You see there, those ones, there's some bubbles, which is good, which means it's been fermenting, and hopefully you get a good crust with that, bubbles in the crust and on the pizza dough. So yeah, get them out. And it's easier to just keep them in here and take one out at a time when you're making it. For flour, I do a mixture of the flour I use for the pizza, so the 00 or the sponge flour, which I've got just a fine flour. So put that in there, and I do about half of that, and then I use semolina for the other half. So pour that in. I think this is coarse, but you can get like larger semolina. But this is good because it gives a bit more texture to it, which means the bottom of the dough gets crispy. And it also helps when you're putting the dough onto your pizza peel. The coarseness of this helps you kind of pull it on and off, so when you shake it, it should kind of roll off easier than if it were just flour. So I would do a mixture. Yeah, and it also gives the bottom of the pizza, when you're done with it, more of like a traditional looking, you know, when you see the semolina on the bottom. So that's that. For the dough, because we do them in the frying pan, it'll be a bit different, but I'll just show you up until stretching the dough out. So I'll cut down there and down there, and I'll kind of just push in. It'll be a little bit sticky, like that. Trying not to touch it as little as possible, because you've got all the air in it. If you're touching it and you're refolding and stuff, it's just going to knock all the air out, so you kind of want to keep as much in as possible. This one is a bit sticky compared to usual, so I'm going to take that out like that, put it on the table, cover it with quite a lot of flour, and underneath as well. And I find it doesn't really matter how much you put on, so it's fine if you put a fair amount on. And then you can see all the bubbles in it as well. You want to push out from the middle to make the circle, so you don't put your fingers all the way into the edge, because you need to imagine you're pushing down and creating the crust on the outside. So just to start, I just go around and make the basic shape, push it out like that. But you can feel as you do it, you're like squeezing the gas out, which is good for the middle of the pizza, but you want to keep it in the crust, so it's kind of like you're pushing outwards like that. And then I don't tend to flip it in my hands, but if you pick it up from the crust and dangle it a bit, it stretches it out a bit more. So like that, just be careful not to rip it. Then you can pull it back into place and put a bit more of that on it. Like that. It's not very circular, but it's okay. Yeah, and then that, for me, would be ready for me to put it in the frying pan, but for yours, I don't know if you put it on the peel first and then top it, but that should have plenty of flour on the bottom, maybe if you flour the peel as well, that should have plenty for it to slide on and off without being too sticky. Okay, yeah, that's about it.